Welcome, everyone. My name is Jake Glavin. I serve as the Executive Director for MTERA. Thank you all for joining, and hopefully everyone was able to see the wonderful keynote from Director Wahala John. I think it definitely highlights just a sense of excitement and opportunity and the desire to get down to work because there was a lot going on. And I think, if there's one theme for this year, it is tribes seeking to deploy, and build valuable projects. And I think that's really where MTERA sees ourselves as really trying to position a tribally led organization that empowers the tribal energy champions that carry a lot of that weight, the weight of the opportunity and challenge of planning and building tribal energy projects. As you've heard throughout the week, MTERA tries to do this really through three main avenues. One is developing a strong network of tribal energy champions. So our board members are actually appointed by each of our member tribes' tribal council, and they typically are the tribal energy champion of each of their respective tribes. So first and foremost, we bring those folks together, we share information, we develop a strong network, and we capture lessons learned and the successes, the challenges, the barriers, everything. That's really what you've kind of seen this week, and I hope this session also highlights that just general feeling of a strong network where you can call up someone who's done the project before. So that's the first avenue. The second is we provide member services. So we provide financial support and technical assistance to our member tribes. And lastly, we pursue collective action initiatives. So these are energy projects where it makes sense for tribes to collaborate and work together because you can get more scale. So as I mentioned, I do think that MTERA's greatest strength is the network, and I think this session is really about highlighting that network, and specifically we're going to be putting a spotlight on some of our new member tribes. As you've probably heard throughout the week, right now we have 16 member tribes across Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. That's soon to be 17. We have another tribal resolution that's in the works. So the goal of this session is to really give you a taste of what is going on in the region with our member tribes by hearing directly from the tribal energy champions that serve on our board. So first up, we have Mr. Daniel Wiggins Jr. Daniel is a Bad River Band tribal member and has been the air quality technician for about 10 years. He has had oversight of the tribe's renewable energy activity since 2017. He's led tribal code development, specifically the review and adoption of utility codes on electrical transmission and energy projects. He was recently tasked with the project lead for the tribe's microgrid project, which you might have seen in the news. And really, he's the tribal energy champion that's leading the tribe's desire to exercise energy sovereignty and really try to capture the tribe's energy vision, which is to empower and enable the community to move towards energy independence. Daniel, thank you for being an MTERA board member, and we will pass it to you to hear about what's going on at Bad River Band.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. Appreciate the introduction, and thank you guys for the invite to participate in the MTERA convention or work group. To get right into it, I am the air quality technician. I have an oversight of the tribe's renewable energy projects since 2017. I always leave the caveat that I think renewable energy obviously throws you into just the energy world in general. So I always just like to leave the caveat that I work on energy projects in general. With that, I think we all are working, whether it's for the tribe or working for a tribe in some sense. And we got to understand what those tribal goals are. So I usually start out with the tribe's vision statement. Our first goal is to empower and enable the community to move towards energy independence. Relatively straightforward goal, but something that I really feel is achievable. I'm going to share my screen. I'm hoping you guys can see that. And so what you guys are seeing is a phased energy plan. Jake mentioned earlier that I'm a part of code development, but I also was responsible for implementing the tribe's largest renewable energy project to date. We installed 3 microgrids at 3 facilities, specifically at our administration government building, at our wastewater treatment plant, and then at our clinic facility. Both the wastewater treatment plant and the clinic facility are both the two larger systems, which installed over 500 kilowatts of solar and 1,000 kilowatt hours of batteries. So very big systems, very intricate parts of a resiliency system that we developed after a 2016 flooding event, but something, you know, built off of resiliency, but definitely being incorporated into our phased energy plan, which at the end, you know, usually most tribes are looking at an tribal utility authority or public works. How that looks for the Bad River tribe, I think is still undecided. I think when a lot of utilities look at this, they're a little scared because they don't know what a tribal utility authority is yet. I don't think tribes are necessarily there yet, and for multiple reasons. Each tribe is unique, and so each tribe can develop a utility authority to what fits them. And I think that's where the tribe is at right now, is we're looking at what our options are for a utility authority. And so with saying that, we have this great MTERA organization that's been put together, and really Bad River has been gracious enough to be a part of it. MTERA was, I think they invited myself back in 2007 or 2019 with original conversations with Kevin Blazer from the Saginaw Chippewa over in Michigan. So it did take us a while to get on board with MTERA, but they are very gracious. They're very supportive of tribes and tribal projects in general. So they do open the doors and do welcome a lot of tribes to the table. And I think it really benefits overall kind of the organization, I think Jake said it best, a network and the collective intertribal organization that's just been built to not only talk about problems within Indian country, but also share solutions. I think was the biggest thing is I think a lot of us tribes are able to identify what the needs are, what the problems are, but then it's really what are the solutions at work? What are the best solutions for our tribal community or my tribal community? And I think that's really where MTERA comes in and is able to share, you know, a vast range of solutions and really say, hey, you know what, this might work for you guys. And so I feel a lot of benefits coming from our relationship that just started with MTERA. We just were, I don't want to say awarded, but we just became a part of the board in January of 2022. So we are one of the newest board members, and we are really looking forward to the discussions, the relationships that are going to be built and stuff through the MTERA organization. With saying that, the Bad River tribe is still going to move forward from a tribal perspective. As you can see, a phased approach where we're looking to add to our microgrids, looking to expand and work with our utilities. So we do have two primary utilities on a reservation, and really our goals are to, you know, invite them to the table as well, and, you know, see where those conversations and those relationships can go and if they are in favor for the tribe. We have a number of projects that we've identified, so we're still looking at adding more solar to whether it's our elderly facilities or our new Head Starts. We're looking at, obviously with the new infrastructure bills, all tribes should be looking at some type of infrastructure projects, and incorporating renewable and clean energy to those projects are a great way to really catch the eyes of these funding agencies. So we're taking that approach with a lot of our projects, and almost all new building projects have some type of energy efficiency, if not renewable energy project component. So with saying that, I'd just like to thank MTERA for inviting me to first be a part of MTERA and the organization. I look forward to the discussions, and thank you for your time today, guys.
Thank you, Daniel. And yeah, it was quite the slow play, you guys becoming a member, but we were very patient, and we are very happy now to have you as a board member. And, you know, especially given that innovative microgrid projects, I know a lot of our member tribes are looking at similar types of projects, and having your expertise and your battle wounds from that is incredibly helpful. Daniel, if you could stop sharing your screen as we transition here, that would be phenomenal. So next up, we have Kathleen Brosmer. Kathy has been the Environmental Program Manager for the Sault Ste. Marie Tribe of Chippewa Indians since 2010. She began working there just 2 months before Enbridge Line 6B spilled 1.2 million gallons of tar sands oil into Tallmadge Creek in southern Michigan, evacuating members of the Nottawasepi Huron Band of Ottawa Indians and startling everyone in Michigan into paying attention to pipelines. Her work fighting alongside tribal leadership to shut down Enbridge Line 5, a 66-year-old line that carries 23 million gallons per day along the shore of Lake Michigan and across the Straits of Mackinac, has led her into protests, governors' offices, kayak flotillas, media scrums, water ceremonies, and most recently into Michigan Tech, where she's working towards her PhD in energy and environmental policy, anticipated in 2022, so this year. Her dissertation is on energy justice for the Anishinaabe, a people that straddle the international border that was imposed during treaty times. Her spirit name is Azedi Kwe, White Pelican Woman, after an elder who accompanied her to Standing Rock had a dream. In the dream, Kathy turned into a pelican to rescue a drowning child and return her to the people. Kathy, I definitely have goosebumps from that bio. Thank you very much for being a board member for MTERA. The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, the Sioux tribe is the largest tribe east of the Mississippi with 44,000 members, 12,000 of them in our service area, which is defined in part by the 1836 treaty, and about 1,000 who live on the res, on tribal lands of one type or another. The service area is roughly bounded, this map. It's not exactly. The western end follows the Chocolate River and a couple of other watershed boundaries, but this roughly defines it. They're within the 7 counties, the eastern half of the Upper Peninsula. We only have about 3,000 acres of land. So we're land poor, but people rich. We have run 5 casinos, 7 health clinics, and 9 housing sites within those 7 counties. So there's a lot of really spread out demand for services and an interesting setup given the land poverty of the tribe. The energy responsibilities at Sioux Tribe are distributed on a whole bunch of areas. There's no assignment of energy responsibilities to anyone in particular. The facilities department handles things like energy efficiency improvements to governmental buildings and maybe someday renewables to supply the demand for particular buildings or clusters of buildings. The housing division covers energy efficiency and renewables for housing. The tribal health division handles energy efficiency improvements and renewables possibilities for the housing clinic, the health clinics. In addition, there's a number of tribal owned enterprises, casinos, of course, and a couple of other things. We're quite vertically integrated. We've got things like businesses that sell carpeting or mattresses, businesses that provide janitorial services, because we were using such services in the community and decided to vertically integrate. So those enterprises would manage whatever energy efficiency and renewables they would want, their own facilities. And then the Tribal Economic Development Office explores the idea of community scale or utility scale energy projects for economic development, basically for making money, rather than for supplying our own community needs. But sometimes it is providing our own community needs. So, but there's not an energy office. There's not a, and notice that environmental isn't on that list. What we do at environmental is the climate mitigation and adaptation stuff. And in 2014, we submitted an application to the Obama administration when they were recognizing climate action champion communities, and that's cities and counties across the country, as well as tribes being eligible to apply for this recognition. And so we submitted it and we were selected along with Blue Lake Rancheria, which is in California. We had a number of energy efficiency projects that we were working on at the time through DOE funding, audits of 39 governmental buildings, and a training program for staff in home energy analysis using blower doors and IR cameras. But pretty much as soon as we did this, the DOE projects started requiring 50% match. So we weren't able to take advantage of it for a good long time after this. But we didn't have any renewable projects. So it startled me that they selected us. But they did choose, they mentioned in the selection process that we were selected because of a holistic approach that we'd taken, including mitigation and adaptation activities throughout our tribal programs, such as a walking school bus or focusing on increasing the use of local food and local regathered medicines and that sort of thing. And possibly they also included us because in 2014, net zero was a phrase that was not often used. And to put that in our energy strategy as a goal, and a goal without a target date, unfortunately, but was still perceived as pretty forward thinking at the time. One thing that may have affected them, their decisions, what you're seeing here is in the background, the tribal flagship casino and hotel in the Sioux. But if you look at the res housing, this housing was built in the 70s. And anybody who's applied solar systems will recognize that roof line. These were built to take advantage of solar heating, solar thermal that was installed on them at the time in the late 70s, which is quite advanced. And that might have been what tipped us over into their category of we need to be recognized. They didn't work very well, but some of the occupants who were paying attention did get a benefit from it. I actually talked to someone yesterday who lived in one of these houses at the time. And she said, yeah, well, when the sun was shining, she knew she could turn the thermostat down on the gas heat that they had, gas furnaces as well. So she was able to get some benefit from it. In addition, what they're doing now, the housing has in their NAHASDA housing plan, they have the plan this year to start installing some solar PV on these ideally situated roofs that would be wonderful to see that actually happening. There's some more examples. So you can see there's a multifamily and some examples of, in fact, sheds and garages as well with the roof line set up to use this. Where I'm situated within the tribe is as one of 3 departments in the Natural Resources Division. Environmental, along with Natural Resources, which was Fish and Wildlife before, and the Great Lakes Fishery Department make up Natural Resources Division. So that's, all 3 look at climate change, but I'm more of the one looking at how the tribe can mitigate as well as adapt. My department includes, well, when I first started with the tribe, only these 2 top specialists, the surface water 106 person and our water resource technician who does our drinking water work. I've added the rest of these job positions since I've been there, mostly because as the manager of the department, if I didn't have a specialist handling an area, I had to handle it. So in order to not have to deal with every issue around air quality, I had to get an air grant and get an air specialist in. Same with brownfields and GIS and pesticides, et cetera. So they're not all funded all at once, though. There's a number of them that are only funded when I can get a project funded, including the energy manager. When we got the designation as a climate action champion, we ended up being toured around by Department of Energy for that year, 2015. And every chance I got, I kept saying, we need money for an energy manager. There is no energy manager. There's no money for an energy manager anywhere. I try to do this work in between all of my other responsibilities, and there's just no ability to make a sustained effort at anything for this kind of work. And Department of Energy liked the idea, but they looked at it as the EPA GAP grant, which is $110,000 per tribe in our region at least, every year. And they looked at that for all federally recognized tribes, and they said, no, we can't do that. So they never did install any type of funding for a tribe that wanted to just hire an energy manager to focus on all these things that we need to deal with. So there is no. And so it was one of the things that appealed to me about joining MTERA, was trying to maximize my effectiveness while I'm trying to do energy problems, deal with energy problems as just a fragment of the time that I get to spend on work. The environmental program is funded mostly through EPA, GLRI, and special projects. So we have GAP and Brownfields and Clean Water Act and Clean Air Act funding, the GLRI capacity funding that every tribe within the Great Lakes Basin can apply for, and special projects for GLRI, Great Lakes Restoration Initiative funding. In addition, Indian Health Service sometimes funds us for some very special needs, cleanup of open dumps, testing uranium in drinking water, that kind of thing. And we have some contracts to deliver services within the tribe, the Housing Authority and the Utility Authority. But there's nothing there other than a fragment of the GAP work plan that allows me to work on energy. So a very, very tiny piece of what I'm allowed to do. So really hoping that something breaks open with energy funding, that I can hire an energy manager or do something more than what we're able to do, because it really is the fundamental thing that we must do to make a better future for our future generations. Thank you, Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Kathy. And I know you've also been busy with your PhD. I don't know if you're still in the data collection and kind of outreach phase, but feel free to put your email address in the chat if you want to connect with anyone related to that.
Most definitely.
And I just want to also mention, what's that?
Thank you for mentioning that. I am still in data gathering and very much appreciate that offer.
Yeah, feel free. And I think just what you mentioned really hits home with a lot of our member tribes, I believe, where, you know, our member tribes have so much going on just in the wake of COVID, and the combination of how busy our member tribes are and then how busy our board members specifically are, wearing multiple hats, where you kind of mentioned only a fragment of your time can be going to these energy projects that are so valuable, and there are a lot of resources out there. I think that really hits truth with a lot of our member tribes, and that's really where I think MTERA can provide a lot of value, is taking some of that weight off, helping, you know, again, convert the fire hose of information, opportunities, challenges out there into something that is manageable and meets you where you are with a fragment of your time available for this. So thank you so much, Kathy, for joining MTERA and for all of your hard work. Last but not least, we have Sarah Smith. Sarah is a tribal member of the Keweenaw Bay Indian community and the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. She has over 18 years of experience working with tribal governments, working as former CEO, assistant CEO, and grant specialist of KBIC. She has a master's degree in tribal administration and governance from the University of Minnesota Duluth, a bachelor's of science degree in mathematics, and a minor in physics from the Michigan Tech University. She taught math for 8 years prior to working in tribal government and is the mother of 5 children. She is the current owner of Ace Fire Consulting. Her company is a Native American women-owned business that is certified by the SBA as a small disadvantaged business. Her company's vision is to inspire and empower people to build up tribal communities by providing them with knowledge, tools, and support. Sarah, thank you very much for being an MTERA board member. The floor is yours.
Miigwech, Jake. So I also prepared a presentation. Whoops. I'll have to share my screen. And it kind of tells the story, the renewable energy journey of the Keweenaw Bay Indian community. About the Keweenaw Bay Indian community, it has approximately 59,000 acres of land, about 3,500 members. Kind of what Kathy said too, there's about 1,000 that live on the reservation. It's located in Michigan, which is a non-public 280 state. It's one of 12 federally recognized, oops, I meant tribes, not states. In Michigan, it has over 30 departments. Over half of its funding to operate governmental operations is done through grants. I always like to mention this, that it's the home of the two-step champion. championship competition, and it has currently both treatment as a state for both water and air. It's located on the southern shores of Lake Superior. You can see it on my screen here, kind of on this little crook on Kuna Bay. Two of the treaties that the tribe is signatory to are the treaties of 1842 and 1854. There's about 59,000 acres, and it's a checkerboard reservation. What I participate in is a committee for alternative and renewable energy. We call it the CARE committee. The composition of it involves many different departments. There's real estate, natural resources, a grants department, a cultural committee, community assistance program, public works, community member. I'm the community member at large, and a tribal council rep. These ones in blue here are advisory, which include staff member from natural resources, a staff member from housing, and a staff member from the CEO's office. In the past, I've participated as a grant writer, and from the CEO's office. Most recently, they updated this chart just as soon as it was just done on December 15th, 2021. And the reason why it was updated was to make sure that all these departments were included. And they also added in working with the MyCares project, which is the Michigan Community and Anishinaabe Renewable Energy Sovereignty Project. The mission of the CARE is that they operate to advance opportunities in the area of alternative and renewable energy resources and energy conservation. And they aid in the economic development and natural resource departments in the development of a strategic energy plan. And they also participate in collaborative efforts with outside organizations such as MyCares, and to promulgate rural and tribal energy sovereignty, and to advise the tribal council on planning and development proposals, facilitate community stakeholder meetings. So currently this is past projects that have been worked on, is a strategic energy plan that was first started in 2008, and it was worked on again in 2015. And it wasn't quite completed at that time. Like, to begin with, I believe this was worked on with the Department of Energy. They came for a few days and set up shop in the senior center and worked through setting up a plan. And then later on in 2015, it was attempted to be worked on again. Other things that have been done through that committee are an energy efficiency report, and that was where all the buildings within the tribal government, they were studied, and they had energy audits done on them to see where there could be improvements done, such as replacing with low flow faucets and changing out heating systems, adding insulation, putting in LED lighting, so on and so forth. So for each of these plans, they were mailed out to all the different departments, and a copy was also given to our public works department, so that when they could make those changes on, like when a light bulb wore out, then they could put in one that was energy efficient. And if a furnace needed to be replaced, they could do that also. Also, another project that was completed was a renewable energy study. And this is where the tribe went and set up, they hired a consultant to set up a wind tower, and they studied whether or not that would be feasible for the Kuna Bay Indian community to do in this area. And at that time, it wasn't found to be feasible, but the company did suggest that we pursue solar. Other projects that we have done in the past are working with the MyCares project, which I had mentioned earlier. Some of the things that we've done with MyCares, there was a survey done with the community at our powwow this past year to find out what community members were interested in and thought would be viable for this area, and what their thoughts were on renewable energy. Their enterprise group also provided technical assistance to the tribe for designing a solar system at our hatchery, which is located in the Natural Resources Department. And we continue our partnership with them to this day. I put up their website in case you want to check out what they have there. This also, through the work with MyCares, they also set up this website. It was supposed to be designed to be an energy tool so that tribes could use it to figure out what would be feasible for their community. And another goal of the MyCares project was to set up workforce training so that tribes could have a workforce that could do things like solar installation, etc. Some other things that have been done by our community have to do with solar. The first one that was done was, sorry, my phone's ringing, was a food distribution on, it was a 20 kilowatt system, and that was done with funding from USDA for the facilities, and they went through and also obtained money from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. That whole project was, I believe, around, at the time, $90,000. There's also solar put up on our pre-primary building. That was a brand new building. And then we also obtained funding for putting up like a 60 kilowatt solar system at our residential treatment facility and a 90 kilowatt system at our health center. Some residential projects that we've done, we were able to get 2 people from our housing department trained to do energy audits, and they got that special certification, NABCEP, to do these energy audits. And then later on, we were able to get Department of Energy EECBG funding, which is, I can't remember the acronym, sorry, but we were able to do, train a crew of 12 individuals. And they were set up to do weatherization repairs. The weatherization repairs were from LIHEAP leveraging incentive funds. So I think we had approximately 25 elder homes that we were able to weatherize, and approximately $25,000 was spent, or $20,000 to $25,000 was spent on each home. This picture here shows the array that was set up at the New Day Residential Treatment Center. It has a monitoring system that goes along with it, the Solar Edge monitoring. I just pulled this up yesterday. It was installed on February 9th, 2017, and it has kind of a cool little thing that people like to see, that there was 3,997 approximately trees planted, and then it had this much in CO2 emissions. Our current work, we're working with MyCares and MTERA. We just recently joined MTERA in January. I've been attending the meetings since this past July. We're updating the usage of our utilities. MyCares is helping us with that. We're installing a monitoring source load And that's been contributed by MTU, which Michigan Technological University, their QNA Research Center. I mentioned that we conducted this survey. We're also adding into our integrated resource management plan for renewable energy. And we're currently pursuing funding through the EDA Indigenous Communities for these 3 projects. And the first one is the solar project that MTU helped us develop. And then we're looking to install natural gas to tribal members that are on LP right now. And then we're also doing a community solar feasibility study. And Jake was very helpful with this. He developed a whole work plan. He whipped it out lickety split, and I was just really impressed. Going further, this is other work that we're working on. We're also looking to get solar for our community gardening and fish processing facility. We're also looking to get solar for community members, energy efficiency for government buildings, energy efficiency for residential tribal members, and update our strategic energy plan. Why did our tribe want to join MTERA? I think it was mostly as part of the MyCares project, we were able to attend these various conferences, and through there we came across a presentation that was put on by a couple of the member tribes, and it was just amazing to see what other tribes were doing. And I think Dan Wiggins really impressed me. I think you presented, and I was also impressed by the Saginaw Chippewa tribe, and just thought that it would be amazing if our tribe also was part of this and could learn from each other. So like I was saying, the partnerships that have been formed through MyCares and MTERA have been invaluable. My educational background is in math and tribal administration and governance. So everything that I've learned is through MyCares and MTERA. You guys just give so many opportunities for learning. You help us with grant opportunities, and you give us direct insight and training from the funding source on how to apply. And it's just an awesome way to network. And I just listed out their mission again: to empower tribes to manage tribal energy resource through collective action. And our hope is to see KBIC move towards energy sovereignty through collaborations with organizations, example and effort, and hard work and effort by the Committee for Alternative and Renewable Energy. And here's my contact information.
Thank you very much, Sarah, and thank you for joining MTERA. It was amazing that your phone rang there at the Golden Gate Bridge. I was shocked by that. But it's just been such a pleasure hearing from our kind of 3 most recent member tribes. I think it really just does reflect what MTERA is in terms of bringing a diverse group of tribes together, each person with a very different role within their own tribe. So we have everything from, environmental directors, air quality technicians, food distribution manager, attorney, engineer. We really have a diverse set of tribes and a diverse set of board members with this common goal of sharing information and empowering tribes to manage their energy resources. It does not look like we have any questions, and I see we have 1 minute left. So if anyone wants to pop up a last-minute question in the chat, I'll be sure to share that with the panelists. I guess just parting thoughts here. I think as MTERA looks to the future, I think one of the things we see is that the tribes in the Midwest who have not joined is typically that time constraint that has been brought up. Kathy brought up just a fragment of her time is really available for kind of energy and engaging with MTERA. What would you say to those tribes in the Midwest that, I think could benefit from MTERA, but, haven't taken that step of becoming a member because of the limited time that they have internally at their own respective tribes? Can anyone speak to that?
It help. Oh, Sarah, you can go.
I was just gonna say that I really enjoy like hearing from all the other tribes that are in the organization, like the meetings. It just seems like you always have such good updates on what is going on with the other tribes, and then looking through your documents, you can just see like it's amazing how you're working on utility, looking at how to set up tribal utilities, and you're laying out a framework for that. There's just like a lot of invaluable, or very not invaluable, but very valuable information that you can have in your document hub, and the ability to bring in speakers from funding agencies to give tips on how to apply for grants is just awesome. Big witch.
Thank you, Sarah. And Carrie, if you could bring up the poll just as we kind of say the parting words here. I just want to again thank everyone for participating, and I want to especially thank Daniel, Kathy, and Sarah for going through, you know, the process of becoming a member, which we know does also take time because it does involve a tribal council resolution. Just really appreciate your hard work at your respective tribes, and also your hard work as MTERA board members. And Sarah, I'm looking forward to the day where you stop referencing MTERA as you and you say our and us, because you are now the leadership and you're still fresh, but that's really what this is about, is bringing together tribal energy champions like yourself and shaping where MTERA can best provide value. So with that, if everyone can please fill out this poll and head to the next session, which starts in about 8 minutes. Thank you, everyone.